based on the texts, how would BEM, I think it's BEM, B-E-M, most likely respond to Festinger's theory in text 1? So what is Festinger's theory? That's our first thing to figure out. So social psychologist Leon Festinger proposed the theory of cognitive dissonance, which states that people experience psychological discomfort when they hold contradictory beliefs. So Festinger's theory is just this idea of cognitive dissonance. And what is cognitive dissonance again? The idea that people experience psychological discomfort, dis-ease, when they hold contradictory beliefs or when they behave in ways that are inconsistent with their beliefs. And then to reduce this discomfort, people either change their beliefs or rationalize their behavior. So, for example, if a person values environmental protection, their belief, but drives a gas-guzzling car, their behavior, they may either switch to a more eco-friendly vehicle, which in this case I think is really more like changing their behavior, or they can justify their car choice by emphasizing its safety or reliability. Yeah, so that second part is rationalizing. Rationalizing is justifying. The first part doesn't quite match up, again, because they're not really changing their beliefs. If they're switching to an eco-friendly vehicle, they are changing their behavior. But anyway, the theory is just this idea of cognitive dissonance. So how would BEM respond to that? So psychologist Daryl Bem's self-perception theory challenges the assumption that people always have a clear and stable belief system that guides their actions. Instead, Bem argues that people sometimes infer their beliefs from their own behavior and the circumstances in which their behavior occurs. For example, if a person volunteers for a charitable cause, they may not have a prior strong commitment to that cause, but rather develop a positive attitude toward it to reflect their own environment. So this gives us a little bit more to sort of look back at in passage 1. Passage 1 is basically saying, or the idea of cognitive dissonance is the idea that people have beliefs. People have beliefs, and then then they exhibit or partake in behaviors, but the beliefs exist before the behaviors. In other words, the person driving the gas-guzzling car had some previous belief regarding protecting the environment. This one is suggesting that sometimes the behaviors can lead to the beliefs. Like volunteering for a charitable cause is a kind of, it's sort of behavior, it's an action. It may not have had a belief before it, but they may develop a belief from it. And so certainly we're not going to have the author of or researcher, psychologist Daryl Bem. Certainly Daryl Bem is not going to just stand there and applaud Festinger's idea and say it's totally correct. It's really more like he would question the sort of assumptions or foundations that this theory is based on. And so A is going to be incorrect. It's not about how rare or common it is or how many people it affects. That's just not mentioned. That's just a variable or factor that's not mentioned in the passages. B, he would recommend that Festinger test his theory by experimenting with the degree of inconsistency. And so no, because this doesn't really signal any fundamental disagreement. To recommend that someone go and test a theory, that implies that you at least consider it plausible, right? Otherwise it wouldn't be worth testing. And so that's just not getting at the relationship either. C, he would encourage Festinger to consider whether people's beliefs are actually the cause or the effect of their behavior. So what does that mean? Basically, even though it says encourage, and that seems positive, it's basically saying, maybe you should really think this over and ask, and examine whether beliefs are the cause of behaviors or the effect of behaviors. The idea being that Bem thinks they are the effects, or at least sometimes they are the effects instead of the cause. D, he would claim that cognitive dissonance only arises when a person's actions relate to their moral or ethical beliefs. No, doesn't say anything about that. So both A and D would signal, more or less an agreement in terms of the idea of cognitive dissonance itself. This says that it's rare. This also suggests that it's rare. So A and D are kind of similar in that sense. But again, it's really more about the underlying foundations, whether it really is this way, whether it really is a matter of beliefs causing behaviors, leading to behaviors, or vice versa.